So we have finished our first few months at Lillestrøm and we have completed the 2045 season. So as we discussed in the last episode, after 20 plus years at Edgerson, we have moved on, and last year we welcomed ourselves to our new club, Lillestrøm. And now we have the end of season review. Now bear in mind, we joined halfway through the season. It's a 30-game season. We joined after 14 games. So we had a decent amount of time at the club, but this club was broken. If you remember in the last episode, there was 25 non-homegrown players in the first team squad. You can only have a maximum of 9. So most of the squad couldn't even be registered to play in games. So we've had to find a way around that, find a way to fix it, and also bring in some talent to improve the squad. And bring in some Norwegian talent just to add numbers and stop wasting foreign player slots in positions like goalkeeper and things like that. So let's head over to the screen. Let's have a look at our transfers from the summer. Let's have a look at the rest of the season. And let's recap how our squad and how the club is looking now. Okay, so here we are on the transfer screen. And let's go through all of the ins that we have signed, shall we? So first off is Arne Valrig. He's a former Edgerson youngster. I needed players I know. I needed players I felt like I could trust. He was with us for the first 2 years, played a couple of games for us. We end up moving him on, but he has come back now for £12,000. Comes in on a backup contract. That was the key as well. Some of the players who I brought in, I needed, but almost only short term. So I didn't really want to be negotiating deals for these players and then in a month or two, them just not being even close to being good enough for the club. Sorry, in a year or two. So he comes in for 12k. Vika, who was a goalkeeper we signed from Tromsø with Edgerson and played for our B team for a few years, etc. Then ended up going off to Holland to William. We've brought him back. We were very short in goal. Our only goalkeeper was his Louis Duque, and he was Colombian, and we didn't have slots for that. So he's ended up coming in being our goalkeeper for this season. I have agreed a new goalkeeper who's coming in for next year, but came in and did a decent job for 2.9k as well. Next one is Marius Asplund. He's actually retired now. He came through the Lillestrøm Academy before going to PSV. Then he went off to Leicester, Werder Bremen, Fulham, then Stabæk. We brought him back on loan, and he ended up playing 13 games for us. And he did all right. He did okay. So he was a useful player to come in, needed to help us for the rest of the season. A player we signed on loan from Northman with the idea of mainly I just wanted to kind of have a look at him. He ended up going down and playing for our B team for the rest of the season. Nicholas Tete. I don't think we're going to agree to sign him back, because we actually end up bringing in a left back on quite cheap, but he was okay. He was a foreign player. I do get the idea we will try not to sign them. Bear with me on the next few signings when it comes to that. Axel Grosso was an 18-year-old. Now, all of the next signings were deadline day signings, all recommended by the agents come to us, on the deadline day screen. Fantastic purchases we picked up. So this kid's going to play for our B team for a few years and just see if he develops. If he does, fantastic. If he doesn't, okay. But he has all the attributes in all the right areas. So Axel Grosso for 450k I think was a good pickup. The next one from Vancouver Whitecaps is a 19-year-old striker who again is going to play for our B team. And again, I think there's some potential there. So Dino Udo Visic is a Canadian Bosnian. I think he has potential. I really do. Free transfer as well. And next one is Sami Daniel Bergam Hansen. He is Norwegian from Nottingham Forest Academy. Came in on loan. We do have the option to buy him, but it was a 1 million option to buy him, and I don't think we're going to take him up on that. He was okay. I'll need to assess the squad a lot more, but I don't think we're going to sign him, to be honest with you. And the next two brought in, I think, were great pickups. So, as always, when you start, you're struggling to pick up some of them wonder kids. You end up having to go into places like Africa and look to pick up the players on cheap. For £100,000 from Zesco United, Albert Fury, come in. I signed him as a winger. He's ended up having to play as striker for the last few games because we're just so short in a lot of positions. For 100k, I think that's an absolute gem. If we need to, we can move him on in a year or two for good profit. No question about that. And finally, Almani Kieta come in, 18 years old, already been capped by Guinea since we signed him, £50,000, valued up to 5.2 million now. And yep, I know you're looking, his passing is only 7. Well, think positive, it was 6 when we signed him. I needed a left back, I needed someone who I thought was good, and yes, he's a foreign player, but I was willing to take the hit on that because we have moved a lot of players around and we're in a good position now, and yeah, I like him. I can't see us keeping him for long. Because I don't think he's a world beater with his dribbling and his passing, etc. But clubs were sniffing around him. And for 50,000, if we can move him on for 2.5, 3 million, a massive amount of profit. Now, in terms of the outs. So the outs, we made quite a few. First off, to Savetta for 250k is Ulrich. So he's moved on. He was a French left back. Prala has gone to Walderhof for 100k. He was a German defensive midfielder. To Generation Foot, we have sold Mbenga for 250k. He was a Senegalese Spanish left winger. To Le Havre, we ended up sending out the Syrian defender. So he's gone out on loan. For 500,000 to French side Valenciennes. For 500,000, Barbero has gone, 28-year-old defender. To AEK is Rasmus Thompson, the attacking midfielder. He came to me and actually said he wanted to leave. Very annoying. I'd already actually made him our vice captain. He was one of the foreign players I was going to keep. And then he started complaining he wanted to leave. Husum has gone to Brina for 75k. We were never ever going to use him. He wasn't even close to being good enough for us. Luis Duque, the goalkeeper, Colombian goalkeeper, has gone on loan to Kalmar. He's now back, but we are going to try to move him on over the winter. For 900k to Troyes is Gunst. Now, he is a Danish striker, and he did play a couple of games for us, and he looked awful. So we ended up moving on for 900k. Jose went for 500,000. And then finally, Henriksen, the right back, to OB on loan. So as you can see, quite a lot of foreign players did move on, and that freed up the spots. But our squad is a lot more deeper now. We have Norwegian in goal. Both our centre-backs are Norwegian. We then have pretty much foreign players throughout the rest of the starting squad. But as you can see, our whole backup, except for the Finnish defender who actually will be going in there, the whole backup now is Norwegian players. We brought up a few players from our youth team. Ola Warren, for example, he's a 17-year-old defender. He was sitting in our youth team. He looked very talented. Unambitious personality, but apart from that, I was very impressed by him. No question about that. Other players who came up into the squad and get a bit more attention. Christopher Flinderbotn. He's very good. But he's struggled to get into our squad. So I've actually been retraining him a left back as our backup left back because there's mark of 8, tackling of 7. As an attacking left back, he's been useful in a few games. But I'm really impressed by the squad. We've got this Stefan Qualley, who's came up as well. 17-year-old central defender. Been playing for the B team and C team this year. 6 foot tall. Honest to God, think a lot of potential in that. I'm impressed with what we've done in such a short amount of time. Financially, we now only spend 91k a week. We want to try to keep that about that over the winter, but we do obviously need to make some transfers. We've been given 6 million to spend for next season. We have 8 million in the bank now as well, which is nice. We are going to look at our youth teams before we recap how our season went then. So first off, our under-19s ended up getting relegated. They were just not strong enough. There's no depth. They've not been signing youngsters by the looks of it who came through the intake. So we've ended up getting relegated there, so we are going to the regional divisions for next year. In terms of our B team, we ended up winning the league. 123, drew 3, lost none. Quite a few of our foreign players who just didn't have a spot in our first team ended up going to play for the B team. You can see here a couple of Italians, Ghanaian, Danish, Colombian, Canadian, Brazilian, Australian, Norwegian, Argentine. Again, that's that attacking mid we picked up. So playing in the 4th tier of Norwegian football, they always were going to be too good for that. So we've won promotion. Next season, back in the third level is when we need to cement our spot there, because we can't win promotion again from the third tier. So if we can go up this year, which we have, and then just cement our spot in that level. So in terms of staff in then, so let's go through it. First off, we have just lost a scout, which is a bit upsetting. But in terms of generally how our team, how our staff are looking, our ins were, first off, after I came in, we brought in Victor Helender, who was the Edgerson fitness coach for 17 years. And he left when I left, so he's come over and he is now the fitness coach here at Lillestrøm. We have Hanken, who was with us for the last couple of years at Edgerson. He has now joined us, 40 years old now, very decent looking coach. Vucinic, who was at Edgerson for 5 years, an attacking coach, has ended up coming over with us to Lillestrøm. We picked up a goalkeeper coach from Roskilde. Is that Denmark? It is Denmark. We needed a goalkeeper coach. He was willing to come in. Leonardo, who was with us for 5 years at Edgerson as well, left when I left. And also we picked up Akbrecht, who is 64 years old. He is an attacking coach as well. He was with us at Edgerson for 18 years. And he has now come over with us to Lillestrøm. So we've ended up adding quite a bit of depth. I tried to bring John Toohey as our assistant manager as well, but he wanted crazy money. We're going to see if we can get him over the winter window, because it would be nice to add John Toohey and just have the same assistant manager with us as well. I think that would just add a bit of comfort for me, because I know he handles the training well. I know he handles that side of stuff well, which is just what we need, really. We do need to add a bit more depth. Our B team needs a few more coaches, etc. And our under-19. So we are going to work on that over the winter window. So in terms of how it went for us then, Viking was our first game as Lillestrøm manager. And we started with a win, a 4-1 victory before beating Arsenal 3-0. Back-to-back draws against Vålerenga and Stabæk before defeat to Molde. We then beat Hamkamp 3-2. Before drawing against Chelsea. We then beat Edgerson away from home, my first game back at Edgerson, and we got a 2-1 victory. Defeat to Bøder Glimt before beating Sogndal. We then lost 4-0 to Odds before beating Brand 2-1. We then beat Stjørdals Blink before defeats to Ranheim and Viking on the final month, sandwiched around a victory over Kongsvinger. So we end up finishing in 9th place in the league. And you can see, I've got to say, I am fairly pleased with that. We finished 12 points from Europe. But our squad is in the middle of just a massive overhaul. So I think qualifying for Europe this year was going to be next to impossible. Now, we are in Europe as we speak, but qualification for next year, that's not going to have happened. So we do need to accept that we are going to be out of European competition for a year. Now, the big shock is that Edgerson ended up losing 7 games, and Odds won the title by 10 points. So Edgerson, for the first time in, 9 years, have not won the league title. Going down with Chelsea and Ranheim, by the way. From the second tier, coming up as champions was Rosenborg, and Asker also coming up. Going down was Sandnes Ulf and Mjøndalen. And from the third tier, coming up was Frigg. Going down was Lysekloster, Brattvåg and Ullen. And from the second division, going up is Ullkisse. Going down is Arendal, Gjelrasen and Mjølner. Now, one thing I did want us to have a look at, if we go back up to the top flight, is who did Edgerson sign? Who did Edgerson bring in? Who did they look at? So they've got 156 million in the bank now, so they have spent some money. Let's go to transfers. And let's go to all transfers. Okay, so they spent 60, sold 72. So over the summer, they sold to Villarreal. Onarheim went to Villarreal for 2.2 million. And Kroll went to Valencia for 18 million. He had 103 goals in 121 games and he sold him for 18 million. I mean, dear me. Dear me. So in terms of the ins, shit, they've had a lot of ins. What have they done? All of them are ins. Okay, let's just have a quick look through them then. So first off, we have a winger, 27 years old, not that good. Coming in on loan from Feyenoord. Dear me. Lokomotiv Moscow is the goalkeeper. That's who I actually agreed to sign. He looked better on the average scouts or so. We can blame them though. Al Eid comes in, central defender, nowhere near as good as what we had. They spent 10 million on this guy. He's a left back. He's 32 years old and they spent 10 million on him. They signed Samir Amrani, who is a 24-year-old right back. I mean, you have Fossadal. Hello. Tafat from Bayer Leverkusen for 17 million is a striker to replace Crawley. He does have 7 and 11, so he has started okay. That signing we can accept. Serginho, who is a winger as well. From Atalanta, they signed this guy, defensive mid. For 6.25 million, they signed another defensive midfielder. And then a couple of more loans. Verba, who is a winger. You signed another striker here. And then also on loan from Parma is a defensive mid. They've completely redesigned the squad. New. Okay, so a few new in the starting 11 on the last game. So, in terms of our squad then. So this was the tactic we were using, a 4-2-3-1. It was successful. I've got to give a shout out to Cabana. I've been trying to move him on. He's 33 years old. I've been trying to move him on just to free up a slot. He's been doing really, really well. In terms of one of them players who you just kind of think, do you know what, I'm going to get rid of you. Especially when I had the plan to use Pirri on the right wing. But he's just been doing really, really well. Same with Measure. How do you say this? Measure. Again, planned on moving him on. Again, has been doing really, really well. Solid player. But our tactics been working. Our tactics been looking okay. We've looked fairly solid in games. I have to say, I'm liking what we are piecing together. I think we're good. 3 windows? Maybe 3 windows away from putting a proper squad together I'm happy about. But we're getting there. We are getting there. It's just going to take a bit more time to develop this squad to the position that I can turn around and say, okay, this is my squad. So we did play over 1,000 games as manager of Edgerson. And as you can see, we had a very successful time. Won a competition in 2023. Then 2032, we finally won the league. And then we won it again in won the cup in 2035. Then from 2036 onwards, we were winning either singles or doubles. We won the treble in 2044. We won the league, the Champions League, and the Super Cup. And then we left halfway through the 2045 season. Over 1,000 games as manager of Edgerson. We are now at Lillestrøm. We have now finished our first season as manager of Lillestrøm. We played 26 games, won 12, drew 5, we've lost 9. We have win percentage of 46%. And we are continuing to develop. We are continuing to progress. We are financially trying to balance the books. You can see if we go into the income side of things. Players sold 18 million this season. Prize money, 6 million. Gate receipts, 3.2. Other, 2.2. Etc, etc. In terms of expenditure, is there anything which stands out we need to work on? Transfer expenditure, yes. I don't want to be spending that much money. Players' wages, staff wages, tax, non-football, other youth setup, and bonuses is quite far down, which is nice. We need to work on the squad. That's a given. That's a given. But when you look at this squad now, and you look at all of these players, if I just highlight all the way down, all of them players are Norwegian. All of them. Now we can get away when all of our backups are Norwegian. We can get away with having that quality in the starting lineup for now. So I'm very pleased with that. It's going to give us a base now to add 1 or 2. If we can move 1 or 2 of the foreign players on and bring in a couple of quality Norwegians, we are going to be in a very, very good position. So join me in the next episode where we'll recap our European campaign with Lillestrøm, as well as recapping our winter window, the youth intake, and some other jazz. Thank you for watching.